Hello, I'm Thomas, and this is the KAANP, the Knoxville Area Artists Networking Platform. And here we talk to artists about themselves, the art they make, and where they make it, kinda. So yeah, stick around, give us a listen. Enjoy the show. That's the record button, Jared.
Oh,
Yeah, so we're recording now.
I'm in.
Hi, Jared.
Hi.
How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, Thomas. How about yourself?
I'm quite well. Can't complain. Sitting here in the comfort of a nice office chair, sipping an adult beverage, chatting about art.
Do you think you're luckier than the average person right now in these times in this part of the world?
Perhaps. I've not lost my job nor been evicted.
Mm-hmm.
So that's two big check marks in the win category.
Right. Yeah. I think a lot of people are unlucky right now, and so to be able to be healthy and somewhat sane in these times is
Somewhat.
Yeah. Key word there, somewhat.
Operative terms.
Is I think a lucky place to be.
So, lucky places to be. What do you do while you're there? What do you do?
What do I do?
Yeah, what do you do, Jared?
My profession is mechanical engineer, design. So I don't do engineering, but I do a lot of the designing that engineers can sign off on, for example. But I really like machine design and product design, and a lot of that has to do with the CAD software that I use. And I got into CAD because of my likening to 3D digital as an interface to do something creative. And so I was going to go into graphic art, and instead I went for engineering because I was like, oh, I want a real good job.
Turn to you a little bit. Yeah.
I wanted a real good job, but yeah, I would say that my profession, I'm an engineer or designer, and in my other time that I don't make money off of, I'd say I'm an artist. You know, that really describes me more than my profession, and most people would argue that, I think. And overall, I would say I like to be a creator.
That's what you wish you spent more of your time doing?
Yeah, of course. I am afraid to make it my job because, you know, a lot of what other people say or what you've heard from people who, you know, set out to try to do the thing they love, it ruins that for themselves. They put a lot of pressure on themselves for that, and it changes how they feel and relate to it. And I'd be really scared to do that with something like art.
Don't want to taint it.
Yeah, I don't want to. I don't want to change it, and I don't want to take that risk too. I'd be very scared to try to have to figure out how to monetize my creative abilities to just make money, to just for number signs, and I'm no longer relating to it emotionally. I'm relating to it with my wallet, and maybe I'm trying to survive on it too. So, you know, that my tactics are going to be weird. You know, I'm going to be targeting things that I don't really care about. So emotionally, I think is where it hurts. To do that with your creative outlet.
So, you mentioned 3D CAD. What mediums are you working with right now?
I do a lot of digital painting right now. I do a lot of figure drawing in real life, if I can. Those are my two mediums, and those are both 2D based. I think 3D for me is easier to understand because it gives you all three dimensions that you can work in. You can literally rotate your design and change it. Where in 2D, you're actually relating a 3D space to a 2D dimension, and so translating that into the medium is way harder to understand than a 3D model, because a 3D model, you have all three planes that you can extrude upon or you can move upon. So I think it's really cool to try to relate a 3D object to a 2D space, and I think that's a lot harder.
That's a more enjoyable challenge.
I think so. I think yeah. It's a skill that's not easily achieved. If you've ever tried drawing, it's not easily achieved, and I think there's some beautiful things that can come out of it. Not just mastery of it, being good at it, but there's different styles, and all those are different ways to communicate, and that's what I mean. Art is any type of art, whether it's music, poetry, pottery, 2D art, 3D art. It's just another form of communication. And so if you can find a way to do it and put your mark on it and do an exceptional job, I think it can be a beautiful thing.
So what other mediums are you into, would like to learn, have used in the past?
Other mediums, I've actually not dabbled very far into painting in general. Like I said, I'd like to mess around in 2D paint, like Photoshop type of stuff, but I haven't really taken up oil painting as much as I want to. I'm trying to set up a studio for that right now. And actually some 3D design stuff on the computer. There's a lot of software out there now, different ways to do it. And they're also, you can be hired for that type of skill because it's just another type of CAD, but they're artists that do things for video games or movies and stuff like that, conceptual artists. And I've looked into that, but I think that's a really cool medium, 3D digital assets and acrylic painting. So I would say both being very opposite ends of the spectrum when you're talking about tactile or not.
Yeah.
They have completely different feelings, but they're both directions I really like. As far as other art mediums and outside of visual art, music, I've never really gone down that path. There's a lot of like beat making, percussion. Really enjoyed that idea of making that type of being that kind of role in a music project. Poetry, writing. I just never had the focus. I think writing's really cool, but poetry, for whatever reason, maybe because it's shorter and it's a little more cryptic, I can work with. So there's a number of things. I think I love exploring everything. With everything I can. It's just different ways to communicate. I think they're all really cool.
So do you have any works in progress right now you'd like to talk about?
That I was working on that one a while. So there's that. I would say I've been working on my first body of work that I've been really wanting to do for about a year now. And it's going to be based on mostly the human form that I've been really studying for the last couple of years since I moved to Knoxville. I got into figure drawing, and then I've been doing that for a while. And I'm starting to get to a point where I feel like I understand it enough that I can transfer it into a more advanced painting or more advanced body of work. So I really want to take human forms and then combine them with nature in ways that's stylistically, I guess, kind of overall kind of dark and dramatic. I would say it's more on the fine art than it is modern art. I'm not really sure what to call it. It's hard to describe something, visually, but especially I don't have much evidence. But it's what I do a lot of my digital painting with. I do a lot of those conceptual paintings because I want them to be an oil painting body of work. So probably 10 to 20 paintings, and with similar style, similar theme, all with the human form, but also nature somehow built in. And a lot of, I think the main characters will be kind of like these dryad type characters. Definitely male and female, but having those human forms available to really relate to the environment that it's in. And I don't know. I have a lot of ideas with that. I'm not sure what it would be called. Other than that, I have some digital paintings, and I do figure drawing semi-often just for practice. That's my weekly, target is to hit those things. And I don't draw every day, but I'm getting very close to it.
Very close.
Yeah.
How many hours a week do you think you spend drawing then?
Probably 4. That's not much. It's almost pathetic, really. I think that has changed very, very recently since I've moved. Moved into a smaller environment, and I've removed my TV and my desktop computer, which I consumed a lot of media via, using those things, especially for video games, which is, I may have spoke to you about, definitely one of my addictions in the past. I have all my friends back home utilize it, video games, and it's easy for me to hang out with my friends back home, especially during COVID.
Yeah.
And talk to them and play these old games together. I mean,
I've done a lot of the same. Played some mean rounds of Uno.
Man, one of my favorites is a game from over 20 years ago now. It was made in 1999. I cannot get enough of it, and it's just like it went from a thing to escape and stress relief and pure joy to a place of almost addiction and grasp. So I don't have the willpower to remove it. It's definitely an addiction. And I've never had one that was as powerful as that, which it's just weird because other people would think that's obviously like literal child's play compared to other darker type of addictions that when they grasp you, they affect you literally physically. And so I can be thankful that my addiction was something that didn't really cost any money at all, and all it did is waste my time.
Oh, yeah.
But once I realized my time was more valuable than that, that was the main reason to move on. And so I had to remove them out of my life. And so my new living space, I don't have them. And now I can kind of think and breathe, be a little more present without having that escape immediately and get back into drawing. Because that's really what I want to be.
So how has this modified your workflow? Do you have a pretty good grasp of a workflow in the new space yet?
Not really. I don't even have a place for my laundry yet. Honestly, I'm at the stage of your life where you're working off of piles, more or less. It's not quite piles, but it's slightly more organized than that. But if I don't get a hanging system up soon, I will have piles.
One of these piles is in a chair or on a chair.
Well, I have these hampers. I do sort my clothes by overall. And so when I wash them, it makes more sense. Anyways, I'm an engineer. What can I say? By trade, I have to organize my shit.
I have a system.
Yeah. So I have these 3 hampers, but they're full of clean and dirty clothes right now because everything just got smashed in them. Mm-hmm. And when I moved, and now I'm in the new place, and so I have a very. Now
you gotta wash all your clothes again.
Yeah, I mean some of them yeah, more or less. I mean they probably still needed it. I don't know, but. So I'm a little bit of a disarray, but I am starting to settle in, figuring out, organizing my stuff. And right now I'm just working off a laptop, which is a recent tool I bought. Probably one of the most expensive things I bought in a long time, and I'm able to do art on it. And it's portable, and I can do a lot of stuff on it. And so I'm really appreciative to have this tool, even though I'm not working right now. But I'm able to do a lot of art on it.
So do you use a digital stylus and pad?
Yes, it's
Tell
similar.
us about that hardware.
Yeah, so it's similar to a bunch of different tools at this point. Now, there's tools that you could use say a plain old, like an older iPad or any tablet. You can find an art program and you can do like an MS Paint type situation. But it's not going to give you the optimized. It's not going to give you different pressure points on the screen. Most tablets, they're not going to give you. I think it's of 8,000 levels and up are considered like more digital media, but you don't have different levels. It can't sense the pressure you're putting on it. if it doesn't have multiple levels of sensory, it won't be able to tell how hard you're pushing and therefore how much medium it might put down or not if you're doing a piece of art. So if you, and as someone who, people who draw or illustrate can understand a little bit better, but when you press down in your pencil or your utensil, whatever you're drawing with, whatever your 2D format is, typically that means you're putting a darker or wider, or that stroke's going to be a little bit different because of that pressure. And so you want a tablet that has multiple levels of pressure sensitivity, and then you can have programs like Photoshop on it where you have brushes that you can, depending on how you push on it, will do different things. And that's really important to have that tactile ability to make different forms. So this technology has existed for I think at least 2 decades. I think there's been digital illustration, but it's just been getting easier and easier to obtain. And so I got a 2-in-1 computer that's like it's like a tablet, like a regular tablet you'd carry around, but it also has a keyboard that has a processor in it, graphics processor in the keyboard, so you can run more programs than a tablet could. So you can kind of flip it around. I think it's a Microsoft Surface Book 2.
All right.
So 2-in-1. So, but there's cheaper forms of doing this type of illustration, digital art, and you can get a bamboo tablet. This is what some people call them, but they're just a flat, like, black square that you put down in front of your screen. It doesn't have you're not looking at the art. You're not pressing into the tablet. You're on a different surface that allows you to pick up pressure and obviously the 2D space that it's in relative to the screen at a much cheaper thing. It's just harder. You have to get used to that type of translation.
There's a disconnect between looking and drawing directly on the page, or moving your hand and looking at a monitor. I've done both of those. And I very much prefer looking at the thing and drawing on the thing. It's just more intuitive. Yes.
I feel that as well. I definitely had a harder time messing around on a square or on a tablet that's
but I'll let you guess which format of that I have because I know which one I have.
I would guess that you have the bamboo tablet type situation.
Oh yeah, I've got a separate. I think it's a Huawei. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, and it's a 7x11 or whatever, detached.
Those
screen.
You can get a nice one for $50 to $100.
Yeah, I paid like $72 for mine. So.
Yeah, and you can get a completely 100%. Like, if you're good enough, you can do lots of art. Like, you can do professional shit on it.
Yeah. And
the thing is, you have to learn a language first. You have to learn how to do that. But people can. You can do it. It just takes a little bit longer. And I honestly, I should have done that first.
Or take the time to learn the language of Photoshop?
No, I've been learning that for years, just out of screwing around. But no, of the because it just would have been cheaper when I bought a monitor that hooks up to my desktop. It's like a Wacom. I don't know if you've heard one of those.
Yeah.
But those brand new cost over $2,000. And as someone who, I think I got mine when I was 21 or 22. 22-year-old out of college isn't going to want to drop $2,000 on something he doesn't use professionally, or it's not out of function. I didn't have the money for that, so I bought an off-brand one that was $500. And that was like a big toy for me, It's like, oh shit, I have debt, but
I have it now.
I know I have student debt, but I'm making enough that I can buy a toy. Yeah. So that was my first toy. No, honestly, that was my first toy after I started working professionally. That was a big deal for me, and it felt weird because I didn't do art. That was me, like, just randomly, like, you know what? I really like digital art. I like the way this looks. I want to get into it. Bam, $500. Like, that was actually me getting into art in a really committal way. Kind of dumb way, honestly.
Like, oh man, I dropped this money. I better do something with
I should have spent $50. But then again, maybe that would have been harder to get into, and I would have not spent the time.
It might have been a less engaging experience. You know, who's to say? But now you've got a lot to show for it.
Yeah, I would say that is me that's kind of the story of me getting into art.
Just jumping in both.
Yeah, I was inspired by another artist And here I'm gonna get into the really nerdy side
No,
of me.
let's talk influences. Let's go.
As a kid, I thought I was gonna be a car designer, so I always liked drawing cars. My brother and my dad are very much mechanics, and I didn't get the masculine mechanic gene. I got this artsy fartsy gene, but I still really like the way cars look. And I used to draw cars all the time in middle school and high school. Obviously, my dream job or whatever I thought I was going to be wasn't quite car designer as I got older, but I was still drawing. And it wasn't always cars. I remember the kids in like first grade when I did draw cars. They thought my cars were so cool compared to the other kids. And all the boys, I remember all the boys would draw cars, trucks.
Yeah.
I don't know why. That's what we did in kindergarten. What's it called when you have recess? Like indoor recess and everyone's doing crafts. Boys would draw cars. That's what you did. Trucks and cars. And I think because my brother and my dad drew them or I was around them, I could draw one dimension more.
Yeah.
My wheels were actually up in the wheel well. I drew like a wheel well instead of just a square with two circles underneath like the other kids, and that blew minds. So I was encouraged from there.
Hell yeah.
And then I grew up drawing more and more different things, and I got into a card game called Magic the Gathering.
And the beautiful art in that game.
And right. I love that game because one day I saw my brother playing it. He's much older, and he never got into it, but I had these cards always laying around. Thought the art was really cool. I grew up just thinking, these cards, I had no idea what they're talking about, but look how adult and cool they are. Like, they just felt, that was just the ultimate, not rite of passage, but I just thought they were the neatest thing. They were artifacts to me, like, of all this maturity, and I didn't understand them, and so as I got older, yeah, I've played that game competitively, and I still don't. But anyways, so obviously a big fan of that card game, and it's such a nerdy game, but the art in the game is really neat. That game pays a lot of artists to make art, and they show up in awards all the time that they have yearly. Like, a piece of art from the game will just be randomly in this, award for the year for, best high fantasy art, best oil painting, all those different things. So they actually pay a lot of great artists to make content. And I saw this one guy who was making these landscapes for the game. I just really loved and I started, looking at the artist because of him. And a lot of people did that. They'll look at the art and be like, oh, I can tell that's that style, because they pay the same artists year by year for different pieces, and you start to get a sense. So a lot of people actually do get into art from, whatever they're into. If I don't care if it's some kind of Game of Thrones or Harry Potter, they'll start looking at more art, and people get influenced by those type of things. But there was a couple artists in that game that I just really, really loved, and I started looking at their work, started looking them up, and before I knew it, I was looking at tutorials and the way they did speed painting and all these processes, and I was like, wow, this is awesome. How can I get into this?
You went rabbit hole real fast.
Real fast. Yes. How can I get into this? I love this. I think I could do this. This looks easy.
So when was this?
2016, 2015, right. 2015, 2016, yeah.
Okay.
And I got real into it, and I was like, shit, I need to buy this. So I dropped $500, bought the tablet, started drawing, and I have a lot of the drawings that I started with, and one or two of them kind of still hold up, but most of them, and even those, are just complete travesties. That was 5 years ago. I feel like I'm looking at drawings from when I was 5. That's the criticism I feel about them. It's
what are you, a literal child?
Yeah, there's a literal child drew this. No, but I got into it because of that game, and maybe it's because of the respect I had for it at a young age because of my older brother, or maybe because the art is that amazing and varied, but I think it's just overall a love of fantastical art.
Oh yeah.
I love things that I feel like are very close to nature, but just somewhere a little bit something else is mixed in, and it feels believable. That's magic to me. That being able to have that translation of like, oh, that looks cool because like I feel like I can go there. I could almost be there. I think that really pulls me in. And I love environmental art, and I do like characters as well. But I got into it because of the landscapes in that game that I found. The work of Noah Bradley in particular, a younger artist, not much older than me, got into and did a lot of digital landscapes, and that's what like pulled me into the game of art really. And now I don't really play that game at all, and now I'm drawing almost every day. So it was a transition. That's what made my transition. But I feel like it could have been any game or anything I was interested in. I would have found my way into what I'm doing now.
Regardless of the lens of the thing you were interacting with.
Right. I think that was just what the stepping stones were, but it could have been another hobby. I would have got into art another way. Maybe I was a real anything. Maybe I got really into cars because my brother and my dad are into cars. That's my next thing I probably would have gotten into.
Well, I
would have drew more cars, and I would have ended up drawing other stuff.
So who doesn't like cars growing up in some way? Like automobiles, machines, specialized machines. Let's get right down to it. If you don't like a fire truck when you're 3, like there's something wrong with you as a human being. So,
Well, some people might have trauma attached to something like that in particular.
Come on. Who hates firemen, Jared?
What, fire?
Who hates firemen and fire trucks?
Probably someone who had the trauma of their house burning down when they were 3 and saw these images. Maybe that. Maybe they have.
We're talking about the lovable, innocent fire truck.
I understand.
Not
I know what you're
PTSD
getting at. I know what you're really getting at. I'm being sarcastic.
But yeah,
jerk.
I feel as if you don't imitate some of the more immediate, tangible things around you at some point, you're either gonna put pen on paper or some other medium or not at that point. But being able to get the things you think cool filtered through your eyes down through your fingertips, if you're that kind of person, I don't think you can avoid it.
No.
It's just a ticking time bomb.
I feel like it is somewhat of a blessing, but mostly a curse. I really do. I feel because how often do I really sit down and think, I've really enjoyed that. Good job. Good job, Jared. You did a great job.
Nothing but positive reinforcement today.
Right. I am so harsh on myself. I am almost never happy with my work. Like most artists, like a lot of artists will say, I started archiving stuff on my Instagram, which is how I first started posting art. Like you can just go back, and the first pieces were really around when I made them, 2015 or 2016. And I'm starting to archive them because I just hate them. I can't stand looking at them, and I don't want them to be representative of my work.
That's fair.
So, I'm at the point where maybe, and that's why I don't do commissions. That's why I'm not, especially now, I don't want to use art as a way to make money, is because I'm not done learning. I'm not close to being done to getting my plateau, and I'm not. That's not me hyping me up.
Are you ever going to be done learning though?
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
but I feel like I haven't.
That's the conundrum you put yourself in.
Yeah, I want to get to a point where because I'll make something. I have a drawing in my kitchen, which is also my bedroom. I have a drawing in my studio right now that is just hanging on my railing, because it's like the square railing, and it has eraser bits all over it, but I'm still working on it. And every time I walk in the room and I look at it, I kind of get fixated, and I think that, wow, that's really good. And very, like, when I get to those points, that's when I feel like I'm getting better.
Yeah.
Because that doesn't happen often. So right now I'm in the middle of, actually, I usually don't finish a figure drawing. I usually do a 20-minute sketch in the sessions that we go to, and then I'm done. I don't look at it for a week, and then a week later I get it out again. I don't sit there and work on the same drawing for an hour, so that's what I did. And I'm impressing myself, and that's very rare for me to be like, oh shit.
I did it right.
Right. So, and I'm still working on it, and I'm still having fun with it. So, I don't know what the question was, but I'm going off.
That's all right. That's where we're at right now.
Yeah, I feel good about it, and in the future, I'd like to say that I could do commissions, but I when I'm still getting to points like that where I'm still making this progress, I feel like I don't want to stop. I don't want to stop and possibly stunt my growth.
Mm. Just by saying here is when I can do this, and then starting that offshoot instead of just continuing the main path.
Right. Yeah, as long as I keep working at it, I feel like I can keep getting better. Now, I'm not working right now, which can't last forever. I quit my job recently, and I need to find part-time work, but I'm afraid to do full-time work because I'm afraid I'm not going to be drawing as much. I'm working on other side projects that will eventually make me money, but I'm afraid to work again because it's going to hinder that progress as well. But it's that's the fact of life. You have to figure out a way and optimize your time.
Right, where the balance is.
Yeah.
There's a sweet spot somewhere.
There's somewhere a sweet, yeah. I don't know if it's in a capitalist system, but
yeah,
that's a different podcast.
That's definitely a thought that crosses my mind occasionally. Like, man, if capitalism wasn't a thing.
Capitalism is a great way to start something, but it's not a great way to have to end something.
I don't, if only those kind of thoughts cross.
Just
my
can't
mind.
go forever. No. So that's coming from a very, very conservative-minded person in their past.
So do any of your influences clearly make it into your work other than the format, or do you have any?
Yes.
Do you have any stylistic leanings?
Yeah. I feel like I've talked only about format so far. No, I think, and I've realized only just recently, my biggest influences are, I guess, very often the thing that I'm at heart in love with. So I think when I was younger, the reason I liked to draw cards was because not only I was encouraged to by other people because they thought it was cool, but it's what my brother and my dad did. It's what masculinity was. It's what I looked up to. And I love that. I really respected that, which is similar ideas to me. And then now all I can be found drawing are trees. Because where I grew up in the woods.
But you draw really nice trees.
Thank you. That's only
do.
because that's all I draw. But no, that's actually the reason I want to focus on that as a point in my works, because it just is automatic to me. I don't really think about it. I don't really think, oh, I'd like to draw. You know what I'd like to draw? I'd like to draw a weird, gnarly tree right now. It's not like it just, honestly, I just put, if I'm looking at a blank piece of paper, that's just what happens. I like the form, so I like exploring it, and I like the way it relates to us. I don't know. I just find that they're very interesting, and I like the mood some of them can set, what you can do with it. It's just a fun character. And I think it bothers me that it feels very cliche, I guess. People, what do you draw? The first thing you draw is like a brown rectangle, right, on its skinny side, and it's very tall, and then you draw a green circle on that, and that's a tree, right?
Yeah.
That's basically all I do, actually. Podcast over.
All right, mic drop.
Yeah. But I don't know. I don't know what it is that draws me to them. I think it has to do with what I love, which is the woods is where I came from, and it means a lot to me. So, yeah, that's why I want to combine that and a human form, because I think that's beautiful as well. And if I can combine the two in different ways, have fun with it, I think I could have a body of work that I could display somewhere and really feel good about.
So where is a dream space to unveil this potential body of work? If we're talking moonshots, what are we going for?
Oh, you know what? I don't want a moonshot. I don't even think about anything bigger than my local town of Knoxville. This is where I practice right now. If I was practicing somewhere else, it'd probably be in that place. I would want to know, I'd want my peers to know more than anyone else. I don't want to necessarily spread it across the world tomorrow because I don't think it relates to everyone. I don't know. I don't really care about huge notoriety other than the people in my community. I think it'd just be a really cool thing to see and enjoy with other people. I really look forward to that. So my moonshot is like the Emporium, which is just an art space downtown here.
I feel like that's the more high end standard gallery space to get yourself into around here.
Around here, yeah. And I agree. It's either that or the one next door, but most of those come with money, and I'm sure I can get to a place where I could afford something like that, but I'm not sure I want to try to put it in a place just to try to then make that money back, because that's typically what an artist would do. I don't really know where I'm at with how I feel about that, the economics of it.
Right.
I'm really in
because gallery space is not cheap.
Right.
Even if you're just there for the weekend.
I think it has to do with the piece itself, how I feel about them. I'll probably, right now thinking about it, I don't have many of the even the ideas done for the quantity that I want, but I don't, and they're not so they're not tangible. But I already have I don't know if I want to get rid of them or not type of feeling about them. So, anyways,
you're committed to the idea.
Yeah, but there's a lot of other spaces in Knoxville that I would be very happy with. Even.
What are some of those spaces?
I guess I don't know if I'd want them in local businesses. I don't. Maybe if they were smaller before I had them fully fleshed out. If I had only 5 or 6 pieces, that would work.
So but places like Cetry's or Barley's or
yeah, maybe at a bar or something a little bit dark, a little more adult.
Yeah,
I don't want it necessarily in a coffee shop just because there probably will be something close to the bosom exposed.
Oh no!
Yeah, and we can't see female nipples. No. Maybe you know what? I'll put I'll put some full chest dude out. As long as they make his shoulders kind of the character's shoulders kind of broad.
Kind of broad.
And then broad. Maybe that's a guy. I mean, but it would be really fun to see something in the middle. Kind of androgynous, more looking, or something where it has both features, right?
Yeah.
And then try to have them display that how they would. I could have kind of had a little argument with them and be like, well, that's not female.
See where the tension happens.
Yeah.
Because they're guaranteed to be something.
Yeah, just you know what? Not even to be necessarily looking for justice or to be looking for any type of social. I just want to cause some mayhem. I just like the trouble of it. I just think it's funny. It'd be my own little prank, I guess, just to be a jerk.
Some people would have a problem with it, but some people wouldn't, and the people that really wouldn't are the ones that won't care and they'll appreciate it as such, and the ones that won't, they'll just get hung up on it and not appreciate it. I'm sure.
Yeah, so I don't know. I just want more or less the body of work to be probably seen together. I'm hoping there's some kind of overarching modal reasoning for each of the pieces. They have almost an equal say in something rather than just a lot of the same format.
Instead of saying, here's a series of things that look a lot alike, here's a different piece of a whole.
Yeah. I could definitely see human forms, and a lot of just nature. Actually, just not even with human forms in it, but it's kind of a far-fetched idea because I don't commit to paintings right now because I'm afraid to get started on something and not be in a place that I feel good about, where I could really execute it how I really want to see it. And that's why I'm just constantly trying to learn, so I can get to a place where I can execute them and be really happy about it, like I am about this sketch I'm currently working on. I want to be just happy with the work I'm putting out, which I can be. It's just hard to get to that place. It takes a lot of time.
Yeah, and it's really easy to be your own critic all the time.
All the time, yeah. You find that with your work?
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, there are things like as we sit in my living room, everyone. This is a secret podcast location at the moment. My living room. This piece here on the wall, I could look at it and say, "Oh, there's 5 things right off the bat. Blah 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 blah. These dots here aren't scaled right, or they're not perfectly in line on this axis. And I just have to learn to accept that even in the amount of regimented form that I try to give these things that I do and their symmetries, there are even going to be discrepancies in my hand making those symmetries. So I just have to accept that a little bit of chaos in the order is how it's going to go. And I really don't need to beat myself up about it too much.
Yeah, it's hard to see the eyes of what other people will see.
Yeah.
Like from here, I mean, I don't see anything. I had to literally study it for a while.
Yeah, nothing's
for a couple
glaring.
minutes.
Nothing's glaring.
It would take me literally a couple minutes to figure out because I'd be like, all right, which ones of these is not the, and then I had to check all of them and make sure, like, that would take me a while, but you made that. You spent more.
I spent hours looking at it.
You spent a couple hours. Yeah, exactly. So you have a different relationship with it. To me, it looks perfect.
I wish more often I was able to look through eyes that'll be seeing it for the first time because I know I've spent way too much time looking at most of my stuff.
Do it if you kind of forget about it. If you come back to a piece that you were proud of at the time, and maybe you've learned a lot and you don't think you're as good or you think you're better now, but you look at it and you're like, oh, dang, I did make that.
So that's what happens when I leave canvases like laying face down, like leaned up against the wall, like, where I can't see them.
Right.
So 4 months later, I turn them over and I'm just like, oh, hell. That's either, all right, or no, I'm black all over it, painted over.
I have quite a few canvases right now that need the full makeover.
The full makeover from bottom to top.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've definitely done that more times than I'd like to count. Feel real good about something, put it down for a couple weeks, couple months, whatever. You come back to it next and you're just like, I don't.
You know what? Think about it this way. In 100 years, when they're studying your paintings, because you're super famous, obviously, because you're dead.
Right.
They're going to be doing like ultrasounds, scans,
X-rays.
Future X-rays, and find all these other paintings underneath, and they're going to fucking be like, they're going to get off to them, I'm sure.
I mean,
they just found secret-ass paintings.
I'd be the only person that's seen them until then.
Right. So just think about it as hidden work.
Hidden work.
Secret work.
What is an art archaeologist? What are you? What's your profession?
Right.
If you're an art archaeologist,
I mean,
what do you do?
That's one of them.
Yeah.
Restorations of paintings, and but yeah, a lot of paintings have paintings over them, famous paintings, and those are the ones that people always try to.
Man, X-rays are something else.
They're crazy.
They'll let you look right under that shit.
Yeah, we've pretty much conquered all the superpowers.
Yeah, I mean, we have X-ray vision. We
X-ray
can
vision.
Things up from a distance.
We can fly. I mean, it takes a big device, or maybe even a smaller device, if you just drop out of a high.
They're tiny little jet-powered wings. Yeah.
We've conquered most of them. Mind control or looking at people's brain. I mean, we have social media.
Right into your frontal cortex, right there.
I mean, most of the time we don't know about each other's, but guess what? Google does. Google can read your mind, actually.
Oh, Google knows.
Yeah, so we've conquered that in a way. What other superpowers?
I mean, I guess we have superhuman strength and speed because, like, Iron Man suits are a thing now.
Sure.
That's a thing.
Did we beat the game?
No, I really think the game is ever evolving to eternally screw us. We might find a glitch in the game every now and then because, the lady in the red dress, she likes to pop up places.
Yeah.
But I don't think we've conquered the game just yet.
We're so far away. We're so far away.
But the Cybertruck is still the best shape that cuts through the simulation, so it's fine.
Oh, is that what it does?
Yeah, that's exactly what the Cybertruck does. It cuts through
I thought
the
it just had
simulation.
thin glass.
Well, hopefully not.
That commercial or whatever that.
The demonstration.
That demo was ridiculous.
It was great until he went to throw the ball at the glass, and then it was even better.
You think it'd be tested 10 times?
I think the official statement was that when he hit the door with the sledgehammer, it cracked the edge of the glass inside the door, and that weakened the glass, which I believe because he hit the shit out of that door with that sledgehammer. But at the same time, boo hiss. That's a weak-ass reason to say the glass broke.
Yeah.
Either way, I understand.
Well, I don't know. If I have to get through a war zone with it, I wouldn't trust it.
What, you want a Tundra?
Yeah, I think Tundra might that might hold up better in a war zone when I'm getting
This
steel
podcast is
balls
not-
thrown at me.
Not sponsored by Toyota at all.
When we run out of gunpowder, we'll just throw steel balls at each other.
Well, they better not be, 20, 30 pounds. That'd be terrible.
Right. Well, don't get the Cybertruck because you won't be safe.
All right, man. So, who are some local folks in the scene that you look up to, idolize, have influences from? Are there any?
I wish there were more, honestly. I've been here just about 3 years now, a little over 3 years. And that's also simultaneously when I got more interested in art and going to figure drawing, getting involved in the community here. Because I'm from Pennsylvania, and I didn't really get into the community there. So this was all new to me. This was, this wasn't a new place that I just, you already knew the skills and got into. This is kind of where I grew. And on the way, I've met a lot of amateur, but I haven't met a huge amount of professional artists.
I agree.
In general. I feel like there's an absence of a network for something like this. It's something I'm really interested in creating with other people. But one person in particular that I think is really cool, he does music, he does art. His name's Martin, or better known as Floyd Strange. You can find him on Instagram, but he has different illustrations that he does, and he also has a music scene, I guess, attached to that name. I think there's YouTube videos. So he's built this character, and it's really cool. And he's a very, very nice guy. So I think he would be someone interesting to talk to in a platform like this, because he has more than one medium that he's involved with in the local scene, especially as someone like me who hasn't been around in the scene very long, probably has better insight for different things. But I would say he's an influence on how I connect or how I identify, really, because he has a whole character built up on himself. I think that's really neat. I think a lot of us don't know we can do that, and it can be good. It can be bad also, but I think it's a good thing to have, because in this time of social media, we're all building these characters, and it's so weird. But if you can kind of have fun,
whether we realize it or not.
Yeah, right. Exactly. No, how we relate to each other, it's like part of it's like the social media pages, and it's so strange. But if you can kind of have fun with it, maybe be a little mysterious or have a character built in, I think that can be really fun. As long as it's healthy. So, anyways, I think that's been inspiring. One of my favorite painters at the Emporium downtown, very consistent part of the painting community here. Connie Gartner, oil painter, does a lot of landscapes. Someone who I aspire to be able to paint like as an oil painter, especially when it comes to landscapes. There's a lot of beautiful East Tennessee scenes, a lot of local scenes. Has hundreds of paintings. Usually visit her on First Friday, say hi. Sometimes I'll pick up a painting, but I just love looking at her artwork. And there's plenty of people who are involved in the figure drawing community that I could recommend. I think Brittany would be, Brittany. She makes a lot of art, especially when it comes to female empowerment type stuff and the female form.
I really enjoy her style.
Yes, colorful but solemn. Something very beautiful there. I think when it comes to having a little bit of color and doing the female form, or male form, but especially the female form, I feel like aspire to draw like her.
I get there. I could name potentially several names when I look around the room at figure drawing and just say,
right,
darn, you and you and you. Like, if I could push,
I've met so many
I'm doing in their stylistic direction.
Yeah,
I would be pleased to accomplish such a thing. As I sit here and try to figure out my stylistic direction with figure drawing, as I have for like the last, 2.5 years.
Yeah. Yeah, I love seeing all different styles people have. It again, it's a part of how we communicate, and just like any art form, and being able to have a community built around that is really fun. It's really nice. It's like you have this language, like this language, this language. Most people, it's a dead language, and until you can be around people who also
Yeah.
start speaking the language and start expressing it and being confident about it, um, you won't be able to communicate that way unless you have those people. So
Yeah, you got to have the exercise.
yeah,
And in that methodology, you have to have the exercise.
yeah, and there's a lot of levels there for social aspects that you can find in a lot of other groups too. And I think that's good. If it just happens to have that as well. Um, so I think it's a really beautiful part of the community here, and that's why I really like doing it.
I've never had or been to a life drawing session since I started going to a life drawing session that I did not enjoy.
Mm.
In some form or fashion, there wasn't a time where I put pencil to paper and didn't learn something
Right.
about it in some form or fashion.
Yes. Yeah. It is. It is fun in that way, and doing it every week, seeing yourself progress. I mean, I didn't sit down and study it. I didn't have a teacher. Just being able to see what other people do, and have the structure of doing that every week, you just naturally get better. And it's really cool.
Yeah, and it's once a week. Like the practice of it is once a week,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what 2 hours. Don't dictate more than 2 hours to it. Like once
Right.
a week. Yeah, and you've been doing it for what 3 years almost.
Yeah, with I would say some gaps, big gaps between when I took it over from Ben,
Yeah,
and then
that was like what 9 month gap or something like that. It was.
yeah,
It was
and
a
I
good
did it a
little
couple
bit.
times in between for like pop up things, but it wasn't consistent basis. And then another big gap this year with COVID-19. At the beginning of the year, we stopped doing them in March.
Yeah.
Starting in
So
March.
what does the Knoxville art scene look like with COVID and your work right now?
Um, for me, how would I explain it? I would say, as far as the figure drawing group, because that's what I'm most connected to here, um, we stopped meeting because it is an enclosed space with pretty many people, where that would not be comfortable at all.
Yeah.
So we stopped in March and didn't do a couple until September. So that was 7 months,
Mm-hmm.
6 months. And in that time, I don't know if anyone was really congregating for art at all. Very rarely. I don't know how many places were open downtown during a lot of that, like the museum or like the Emporium, or just small businesses in general, because I would say a large portion of the art community here is going to be the small businesses. It's not just the college. It's not just the
Right.
Emporium Gallery here.
It's most bars and adult themed spaces all across town.
Yeah, it's in a lot of small businesses. It's a part of some venues, like you said, and not having a way to congregate and enjoy the art really limited our local consumption, because unlike art that you can find online, local stuff isn't as archived, isn't as presented, and you have to find it and seek it out if you want to see what locals are
That's
doing.
true.
Yeah. They don't all have a platform in order to communicate it, so you have to go see it yourself. And there's a beauty to that. I think there's something lost in only viewing art in a digital form. I think it is very powerful to meet in person and to see things in person and be almost tactile with it if you can. And a lot of that was lost, and that time and this time of less social contact in person is detrimental more than just art, obviously.
Yeah.
So we've spoken about that, and everyone's spoken about that for almost a year now. It's crazy, but what I'm getting to is we haven't been. I haven't seen as much local art. I mean, it's a fraction.
Yeah, definitely.
Small fraction.
Because it's hard to do that when there's
Yeah, not going
lockdowns and
not
stay-at-home
going to music
orders
shows. Yeah, can't go to music shows. You can't go to venues. They're not going to be. I mean, if they are open, some bars are open. They might have art in them, but it's just they don't have the numbers. I don't know how many places care about it because it's a secondary issue. You know, art is not a necessity in most people's lives, and it's not a necessity to the economy. So it's going to be secondary to a lot of other things, and a lot of other issues. But it is a way that we communicate, and that's obviously very important. But economically, it's not going to affect things like other things have.
So has this made you change up how you distribute your art at all?
I wouldn't say I distribute my art.
Or how you share it?
How I share it, I actually stopped sharing it for a multitude of reasons a while ago. I took a lapse in my time putting art out, and it was around the same time as COVID. I didn't have the energy for it, but mostly it was because of issues with my workplace. I was putting a lot of time in there, and I did not want to deal with anything that was challenging outside of those hours. I felt completely zapped of energy. So I'd say due to personal reasons, I wasn't making art at the same time as COVID, and maybe it had something to do with the onset of depression in a lot of people around that time as well. Some levels of that, but overall, I think it was due to work conditions. So I overall also would say there's one large reason I didn't do is because like I said before, I'm still growing. I don't want to spend time working on something that then I would present to other people. And if I'm not working very hard on it, then I don't probably want to present it to anyone. So it was very rare that I was finding ways to express those things because I didn't want to focus and I didn't want to commit to a single piece for a long time.
As something that directly relays your body of work.
Sorry?
As something that directly represents your body of work.
Right. Yeah. So I've also just been messing around with this idea of this body of work for a while now. I've been messing around with different ideas and themes and styles, so that's just taken a lot of exploration. So like with any person who makes music or any person who makes art, style isn't something that just like you find. You just kind of have to mess around for a long time. It comes from your influences, but I think a lot of people do struggle with finding it, and so I guess I'm just want to cement that and work with that struggle for a while.
And get a really good footing on what your style is before you put together some.
Right. And I feel like I'm getting better over time, and so I don't want to put a stake in the ground, work on this thing and work on a style for a type of work without kind of feeling like I'm plateauing or something. I'm not really sure.
It's to a point where you're comfortable.
Yeah. I don't know if I'll ever be comfortable, so so yeah, it's kind of a catch-22.
Yeah. The artist dilemma. Are you ever good enough? Is this good enough? Am I happy with it?
Mm.
That constant struggle ties back into being your own harshest critic. Darn.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I think I am getting to a point where I want to put a stake in the sand and say, okay, this is where I want to focus for a while. And by completing some works, I'll learn something different rather than just learning specific shapes or learning specific technical skills. I'll learn something overall that I haven't been focused on. So that'll be another direction that I should head in soon. And I think that'll drive me to doing it, to committing to doing the body work. It's kind of finishing, working on something for that long, and that amount of focus psychologically is going to be different, and I'll learn something from that.
Fair enough. So once you feel you can do that, you'll dive into the proposed series.
Yeah, and I actually do have a kind of a workbook I didn't bring with me of ink drawings that are really how I rough out a lot of my ideas. I think you might like it, but they're very abstract. at first until I get to some shapes that I really like, and then I develop that further down. So it's kind of like just hot static until I find something.
Hot static.
Yeah.
I've not heard that before.
That's how I sometimes describe the inside of my head on a day that I wake up and I'm just like, don't know what's going on. It's just, it's hot static up there right now. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Hot static.
I really do like describing things like that, but it's just, I guess it looks like static maybe. Maybe it's not hot, but it just looks like a mess until I kind of sculpt it and refine it.
Find the groove with it.
Yeah, and then I'll assign more shapes to it and make something out of it. It's kind of like a weird ink blot test, Rorschach type situation. You'll have to see what I'm describing. It's pretty fun.
I'll give it a look.
A lot of them are trees.
No.
Yeah.
Trees.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. All right, Jared. Well, we're going to cap it right there. Thanks for being on the KAAMP. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, my pleasure. It was fun.
Links in the episode notes, all that good stuff. Do you have anywhere where people can see your work? Any old stuff, new stuff, anything at all?
Yeah, on Instagram. If you look up Jared Gottschall, it's kind of a mess. So the linked notes would be the best thing to find my stuff. And I hope people check out some of my work.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Thomas.
That was the show. I hope you enjoyed. All the relevant social media and website links will be in the episode description for the featured artist today. And if you yourself or know an artist that you would like to be or see on the platform, shoot me an email. It'll be listed somewhere on here. I'll try to make it plainly evident for you. But thank you very much for listening, and I'll see you next time.